There are two things to take note about Ogryns. One, they're dumb as hell, and two, they're tough as hell. This may not seem relevant, but this description also applies to their guns. And believe me, facing a foe that specializes in attrition warfare, complicated kit is not something you want. So gather around, rejects, for today we will be learning about the weapons of our biggest boys, so we can help them help us in our mission, and hopefully prevent some friendly fire along the way. Now, as per usual, let us go through the basics of the weapons first. First, the DDM, the distance damage modifier for Ogryn guns, is basically that of the auto guns, meaning the closer you are, the more damage you deal. Simple as. Secondly, and I don't know why Fat Shark did this, but the color ranking on Ogryn weapons is actually inverted. So on human weapons, blue means light, green means medium, and tan brown means heavy. But for Ogryn, it's reversed. Light blue means heavy, green means medium, and tan brown means light. I don't know why Fat Shark did this, but hey, it's there, it's done. I don't think they're gonna change it anytime soon. So with that being said, let us take a look at the very first gun the Ogryn can get their hands on. As the very first gun an Ogryn can get their hands on, this gun is as simple as it can get. It is a single-barrel, gigantic shotgun. Loved by newbies and veterans alike, this gun serves as a good panic button should you face a rager pack. The secondary has you brace the gun and gives you a slight bit of zoom when you aim down barrel, and the special action is a horizontal swing bash, which, might I add, is actually registered as a heavy attack for all Ogryn weapons that has that as a special, so keep that in mind. Now, the pros of this weapon is that it absolutely decimates human-sized targets. No human-sized targets will be standing after this gun fires. Plus, if it doesn't kill them, it will knock them down, making them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. During a wave or an ambush, you can absolutely hold a choke point or a corridor with this gun, no problem. However, this gun does has a limit. Being a single-barreled shotgun, this thing is useless against long-range foes, snipers for example, and it really struggles against Ogryn enemies, crushers, bulwarks, reapers. The best strategy with this gun against Ogryn enemies is to rush towards them and shoot them point blank in the face. Now, there are two tips I can give you. One is to pack a rock or a box for sniping long-range foes, and carry a good anti-carapace melee weapon for carapace enemies, pickaxes, bully clubs, shovels, take your pick. This gun may be good against mobs of chaff, but you need something else against the tougher specialist. Okay, now we're getting into the fun stuff. As the name suggests, the twin-link Stubber is basically two belt-fed machine guns linked to a single trigger. Mechanic-wise, it's basically the braced autogun but for Ogryns, with the biggest difference being magazine size. As per usual, there are three variations: the heavy-hitting Gogorum, the middle-of-the-ground Crook, and the fast-firing Aklis. The secondary action and special is the same across all variations. The secondary action has you swing out a handle to brace the gun, while the special action has you swing the gun itself as a melee weapon. I won't lie, despite being the funnest gun around, this gun does have its pros and cons. First, being that it's a belt-fed machine gun that shoots its individual bullets, you can theoretically snipe with it with good trigger discipline. Next, with good positioning and a lot of ammo, you can hold off a horde or a wave with no trouble at all. Plus, when braced, you still have a wide field of view, good if you are doing this out in the open. And last but not least, this gun turns you into a walking turret. But as fun as this is against human enemies, there are downsides with this. One and most important of all, your bullets does nothing against carapace. So against crushers, it's best to bring something else. Next, the reload time is long, so best make sure your targets die before you hear your guns go click. Lastly, it needs a lot of bullets for tanky foes like monstrosities and bosses. Okay, onto the tips. There are three tips I can give. 1. Do not hold the trigger down unless you're shooting point blank. This gun is ammo hungry, so make sure your shots kill something when it leaves the barrel. 2. Bring a bully club, shovel, or pickaxe for carapace foes. You need an anti-carapace option to be useful. Lastly, stick to the left side of the skill tree to maximize its potential. An upgrade from the Kickback, and a gun specially made for Ogryns in the 40k lore, the Ripper gun is an automatic shotgun with a bayonet attached to it, making this a versatile weapon for many Ogryn players. Depending on the version, the primary and secondary fire is different. The Heavy Mark V has a 3-round burst on primary fire, while the secondary is a full auto. The Medium Mark II has a primary 3-round burst and a full auto secondary fire. And the Light Mark VI has a 2-round burst on primary fire and a 3-round burst on the secondary fire. The secondary action across all versions has you swing out a handle for you to brace the gun, while the special action has you using the bayonet on it for a quick jab. As a clear upgrade from the Kickback, this thing can clear a human horde with relative ease. Plus, with the addition of a magazine, you can stay in the firefight for far longer. And as a bonus, the bayonet counts as a heavy attack, making them somewhat useful against crushers when paired with the can opener blessing. And if you go down the left side of the skill tree, you can use that bayonet attack to trigger batter and heavy hitter with a quick jab instead of a wind up heavy attack from your melee weapon. But with all that being said, there are cons with the Ripper gun. First of all, being a shotgun is close to mid-range at best. Against anything farther than mid-range, it's basically useless. Secondly, despite the magazine, it doesn't hold that much ammo. 17 is the most I've ever seen. So if you're fighting something and it doesn't die to 17 shots, you're in a world of pain. Currently, there are 3 tips I can give you. 1. Do not brace fire if the amount of enemies is below 3. This is for those who likes to use the Mark 5 and Mark 2. Secondly, be aggressive. Run in with this gun out and blast the enemy in the face to negate the range issue. Finally, use rock, box, or open frag for faraway targets. That's the only thing you can do with those that are outside of the gun's range. This is truly a unique hybrid weapon for the Ogryn. The primary has you swing the gauntlet around in melee like an oversized tonfa steak, while the secondary has you brace the gauntlet for launching grenades. However, the special action is arguably the funniest. It has you punch someone with the gauntlet, and then launch a grenade right in their face. As a hybrid weapon, this gun has a lot of pros and a lot of cons. On the pro side, if you're ever in need of melee, you don't need to switch weapons. You can just swing this gauntlet around and it could clear a horde with relative ease. Next, and arguably the most important thing, when you brace the weapon to fire a grenade, you get a reticle, meaning you could snipe with this if you practice hard enough. Plus, the grenades being explosive, it can deal with crowds as well as knock down Ogryn crushers, bulwarks, and reapers with relative ease. And last but not least, the special action can actually buy you some space if you need it. On the negative side, however, this gun only has 4 shots, plus a small ammo reserve and a lengthy reload time. You have to pick your shots and your targets to make sure you're not wasting ammo. Plus, the grenades itself has a small blast radius and it doesn't have that much killing power against Ogryn enemies. Meaning the grenade gauntlet sucks at crowd control and anti-armor duties. As for tips, there's only 2 I can give. 1. Keep it topped up at all times. 4 shots is not enough for majority of the firefights, so make sure you're going into battle full at all times. Secondly, use the grenades primarily on gunners and specials. This thing sucks against waves and armor targets. A very fun and very versatile weapon, the Rumbler is a single round grenade launcher that is perfect if you need a giggle. As the weapon type suggests, it launches a time delay grenade that has a large explosive radius. Think of it as a combo of the rock, the kickback, and the grenade. The secondary action has you aim the weapon, and it shows you the arc of where your grenades will land, while the special action is a horizontal swing bash, perfect for clearing chaff. Now, the pros of this weapon is that the grenades can actually bounce off of surface before detonating, meaning if you have enemies hiding behind cover, you can bounce it off of walls, off of the floor, or even off of the ceiling and get them that way. Secondly, the high damage and the large blast radius makes it a very good weapon for crowd control. Thirdly, the blast can actually knock down enemies close to the grenade if it doesn't kill them first. And finally, it can be customized for different scenarios with different blessings. But despite all the positive, there is a downside to it. First one being the obvious, it only has 1 shot before you have to reload. Second, you need to keep in mind the time delay before shooting. And thirdly, the ammo reserves is really low. It's basically 2 digits, so you need to pick your targets. The tip I can give you is to lead your shots. Instead of shooting directly at a horde or into an enemy, you shoot in front of them to account for the time delay. Next, and this is not much of a tip, basically just aim for the head. Believe me, watching people just go ragdoll because of a gigantic grenade smack them in the head is just hilarious. Thirdly, and this is the serious part, get adhesive charge and shrapnel blessing to make it versatile. If the blast doesn't kill them, the bleeding surely will.
Got the sniper! Sniper! Killed it!
A new weapon introduced in the Grim Protocol update, on first glance is a half of the twin link stubber, but it is the answer to every Ogryn main's complaints. As per usual, it comes in 3 variations: the light cork, the medium gorgonum, and the heavy atlas. The secondary is where the special sauce is at. It is a zoomed aim semi-auto shot, while the special is a flashlight. The positive of this weapon is the fact that the secondary solves the Ogryn's biggest problem, the lack of accuracy on every single weapon. Meaning with this gun you can actually snipe people with it. You can snipe shooters that are either far or away or hiding behind cover. Plus, it has high damage, penetration, and OK ammo reserve. So regardless of whatever builds you have, this gun will serve without problems. But with all that being said, there are downsides in using this weapon. First, being a heavy stubber, it basically uses a belt-fed ammunition, meaning the reload time is going to be long, longer than the twin link in some cases. 2. The hipfire is ridiculously inaccurate. The moment you hold the trigger down, the reticle will actually start to expand to the point where you cannot hit anything at all. Plus, and the most obvious, if you spam the weapon, it will be very ammo hungry. The tips I can give when using this weapon is to treat this as a DMR for the Ogryn. Snipe shooters and special with it. Secondly, and most importantly, only hipfire when you are in point blank range. Anything outside of that, just aim and shoot. Now usually in this section, I will elaborate on the pros and cons in using this certain type of weapon. But as an Ogryn, you don't really have an option in choosing which gun to use. Besides, it kills heretics without any problem at all. It's just what type of heretics it kills. The only problem I have is the fact that most of the weapons aren't anti-carrot based, like the plasma or bolter. I mean, being Ogryn, you thought that they would be geared towards other Ogryns. But no, most of them are geared towards human-sized foes. I truly hope Fatshark will introduce something in the future, or tweak the existing weapons so that they are more effective against carapace and Ogryns. But with that being said, this is the end of the episode. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.